Thanks very much, Dan. It's a unique opportunity to be here for this event. This is actually the first time I've been to it, and I'm a little surprised to find myself at the podium. I want to build it. I'll just comment for a couple of minutes, and I want to compliment a couple of things that Peter said in his really outstanding talk. First of all, I'll make a true confession to follow on Peter's, that I am, and have been for 24 years, a university professor. I hope that doesn't turn anybody off, but we do at universities do a few useful things. Not very many, but a few. One of the most useful things I think we do is try to nurture the next generation of scientists. I have with me my colleague and collaborator of the past 5 years on this work, Wencheng Kong, who will make some comments in a minute. Over the past several years, we've also enjoyed a collaboration with Fiona Nebakalu in this work. My lab has been trying to work in this general area for about 20 years, with only recently, as Stan pointed out, success in funding. But during that time, we had the opportunity to expose a number of young scientists to the opportunities associated with this work. One of those happened to be a fellow named Shikang Li, who worked in my lab in the mid-90s and moved on to Erie, working in the very breeding group that Peter had a little bit of limitation with. It turned out that Shikang, together with another young scientist, Eric Sachs, who was then at Erie and is now at the University of Illinois, were actually then interested in perennial rice. And they made a cross between Oryza sativa, the domesticated cultivated rice, and an African species, Oryza staminata, that had rhizomes and was capable of perenniality. And did some genetics work, and that work has actually led to improved lines that are being cultivated in the People's Republic of China that Stan and others can tell you more about than I can. But what turned out to be interesting is that I visited Erie while Shikang was working there, and we started talking about this project. And through genetics, through our knowledge of how genes are arranged along the chromosomes of plants, we have the ability to compare one plant species to another. Things that could not cross or recombine normally, but we can look at their chromosomes and align their chromosomes and determine how the genes of sorghum relate to how the genes of to the genes of rice with pretty good accuracy. And we thought, well, it would be interesting to see if the genes that are influencing perenniality in rice have any bearing on those that are influencing it in sorghum. These are plants that are separated by 50 million years of evolution. And it turned out that they did. In fact, they were very similar. We found, if I recall the numbers correctly, in each of the two species, we found about 9 genes that were influencing the perenniality characteristics, and 7 were the same, or at least 7 were very close to one another. So what this said to us, and this is kind of the second point, that universities sometimes contribute something useful. What this said to us is that these efforts that you're going to hear about in sorghum, in wheat, and in kernza, I'm not sure how much we'll talk about rice today, but there are other taxa going on as well, do not need to proceed in isolation. That as we learn more about how to make sorghum perennial, we may also be learning more about how to make rice perennial, how to make wheat perennial. That the relatively basic, call it ivory tower, if you will, knowledge that comes out of the universities may actually have practical on-the-ground importance as we work with our breeding colleagues, Stan Cox, for example, and others here at the Land Institute to try to implement these technologies in Kansas and in Georgia and in Africa and in other parts of the world. I'll stop there. Thanks very much.